Hey guys, today I'm going to show you this tutorial for a demonic vampire. I will do another tutorial which shows how I made the brow piece, and this tutorial will be the application. First of all, I'm going to prep my skin with a product called Top Guard, and what this will do is create like a better adhesion for the prosthetic, also stop sweat or moisture coming through, which could affect the gelatin piece and make it come off. Next, I'm going to glue on my eyebrows, which makes removal of the piece a lot easier as the eyebrows are flat and don't get caught in the glue. I'm going to use Aide to glue this down, and just starting from the edge and working my way to the front of it and just making sure I coat all of the hairs and get it quite flat. And I use a cotton tip as it's easier than washing the glue out of a brush. Once it's dry, I'm going to push it flat with some neutral set powder and a powder puff just to get that brows really flat against the face. And then holding the brow piece up to my face, I'm going to powder around the piece to get an idea of where the glue needs to go. Didn't really work, but we'll get the hang of it sometime. So now I'm going to put Aide adhesive over where the piece will sit, so on my forehead, over my eyebrows, and down my nose. I've also prepared the back of the piece with some Nye Final Seal to also help any moisture from my skin from affecting the gelatin. And I've also put some Aide on the back of the piece and waited for both the Aide on the back of the piece and on my head to dry completely clear. Then I position it on my face and then press it down from the center, flattening it to the outside. The technique that I'm using here, I've actually found a better one. This one I kind of glue all the extra corners, in this technique I glue all the edges down with Aide first and then go over it with witch hazel. But what I found to work a lot better is straight away to use witch hazel to dissolve as much of the excess gelatin away and dissolve it into the skin. And then once it's dissolved away a lot of the edges, then go over it with Aide just to kind of seal the edges down and make sure it's all glued properly. But I found that the layer of Aide first actually prevented the witch hazel from really dissolving it all. So I would go witch hazel and then Aide. After all the Aide's dried, I'm going to put a second layer of Aide over it to help kind of blend out all the edges into the skin if they're a bit thick. And you can see that where the edges are. And once that's done and dry, I'm going to powder it again with neutral set powder and a powder puff. And I'm going to go over it again, any of the places where I feel like the edges are still a bit too thick, just a third layer of Aide. And while the glue's drying, I'm going to start with my concealer. And powder that. And now the glue's dry, I'm going to powder that as well. So then I'm going to put a layer of Final Seal over it all before I start painting it, just to seal all the gelatin. Stop anything from affecting it. Now I'm going to put my base down, so I'm using Skin 79 Gold BB Cream. Putting it everywhere but the headpiece, because I'm going to color the headpiece with Skin Illustrator instead. And go over any spots with some more concealer. And use an under eye concealer as well. Just to make the face pretty neutral, pretty blank canvas to start with. Now using Skin Illustrator FX palette, I'm going to go over with some pink tones first and work that into the brow piece, trying to look like it's got some blood under the skin. I'm mixing the Coral Adjuster and the Rose Adjuster. And go in with some more of those pink tones in the deeper folds of the eyebrow. Now using some of the lighter colour, the rice paper and natural one, I'm going to use my chip brush to kind of splatter over layers of lighter and then the darker colour, and just do it in layers until it looks like it matches my skin tone. Giving myself breathing breaks and breath breaks, and then once that's relatively close to my skin tone, I'm going to use Lividity colour from the Necromania palette and get it into the wrinkles to kind of add up some contrast. To try and add in some contrast. And then we go over some more of the rice paper colour to kind of lighten up a little bit. Put a little bit of concealer over my eyebrows just to make sure that they are not seen. So I decided I was going to stipple some of the Lividity colour over my skin, but then I didn't end up liking it, and I ended up going over it with other things so that you don't even really see the effect, but it's filmed and you'll see the speckling. You're like, what did I miss? So I'm going to include it anyway. Anyway, I didn't end up keeping that technique, but I'm going to go with some veining. I'm going to use a mix of the Ultra Blue and the Bruise Tone from the FX palette. So I'm going to start with the main branches first, and then start adding in the little tiny off branches of capillaries and veins. Going to do the other side as well. I'm going to go in and deepen those shadows again. I'm going to use a cotton tip with a little bit of alcohol on there just to soften some of the lines, make some of them look more receded and under the skin and some of them more on the surface. And I decided it would actually be easier if I just put some of my Skin 79 BB cream over the top because it's quite sheer, so it will show through some of the veins and make it look like they are more under the skin. And then I'm going to go over a couple of places and just kind of punch up the colour and make it look closer to the skin again. This was a variation. I'm going to do a little bit of contouring with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit using the colour Fawn, just to get that kind of really high cheekboned vampire-esque look. And do a little bit in the temples as well. Then I'm going to do the eye look. I'm going to use Naked 2 palettes. I'm using Foxy on the lids first. I'm going in with some of the Tease colour in the crease and underneath, and then blending it out a little bit. It didn't blend that well with the Pros Aide over my eyebrows, which didn't really take into considerations. That's probably easier to keep the darker shadows actually closer to your lashes rather than do them in the crease. But I didn't really use that until later, so for now this is just what I did. I'm just working my way through the darker colours. I think it's Busted and then Blackout, and just amping up the contrast beneath the brow. I'm going to use a little bit of the lighter shimmer colour on the lids and on the brow bone. I'm going to use Maybelline, the Maybelline Gel Studio Liner to do a little bit of a wing. Just to straighten out that line and any edges, I'm going to go over it with the Blackout colour again on this little detail brush to make the line look a bit smoother. I'm going in with some of the pink tones again because I realised it looks kind of odd having the shadows the same colour as the veins and everything. I wasn't sure how to fix it, so I was like, maybe some of the pinker tones, but still looking quite weird. I go over it with a brush with some 99% alcohol in it, try and soften it all and blend it out. And then over it again with a cotton tip. I think what I should have done is really just gone in with a cotton tip and removed most of the colour, so it's just like a very tiny, subtle shading and that would have looked, I think, a bit more natural. This looks a bit more otherworldly. If you want to go full kind of demonic, otherworldly vampire, then this is good, but I think I wanted to be more subtle than it ended up being. Curled my lashes and then put a bit more colour in the brow folds. I'm going over it with some more of the flesh tones to try and make it lighter again. The next time I apply this, I got the colouring a bit better. I'll show you photos at the end of this of the next application and the application of this brow on a few other people. Let's put on my mascara. I'm going to line my lips and then go for the classic kind of red lip. I'm going over the outside with some clear lip liner so that the lip tar doesn't bleed too much. Then using OCC Lip Tars in Vintage. I made these teeth myself following a tutorial by the Stan Winston School, and also a little bit of a technique that I learnt in a teeth making class that I did. The Stan Winston tutorial by itself is about 3 hours long, so I don't think it'd be possible for me to make a teeth tutorial, but if you do the free trial with Stan Winston, you can watch the tutorial there and see how they do it. I'm going to use my Fleet Street dark drying blood and kind of drip it and smear it underneath my mouth like you've been feasting on somebody. Keeping my lipstick mostly perfect. Couple little drops and smears. We got my costume on and my contacts in, which I got from my optometrist. I thought, this looks too purple, I'm going to add a little bit of the blue veining tone in to get a bit of a different colour going on. And I got the dress from the Costume Supercenter, one of the vampiress, it's one of the vampiress dresses. Putting a bit of blue in the brows as well. Posing for the camera, trying to be scary. And this is me as a vampire drinking blood. Yummy. So because it's gelatin, it moves pretty well, so you can kind of like crinkle up the brows and furrow them and move them quite well still, which makes it easier and more comfortable to wear. And something, say, like latex, if it's not foamed latex. These are some of the pictures. So this is the second time I applied it. I combined it with the burnt vampire look, and I didn't shade in the brow as much. So I think the combination of the two looks was really quite scary and successful. This is a brow piece applied to my brother, and then this is the brow piece applied to my friend Lauren. Alright, I'll work on editing and uploading the brow piece video next. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.